Do you have an idea, Stephen, or do you want me to give you just kind of show you an example?
Example.
I was thinking the word significantly. Cherry or Danny, did you have any other ideas?
No.
No? Okay, let's go to synonyms for the word really. Undoubtedly, that's a great word. Undoubtedly, significantly, certainly. So that's one of the better ways to do this is you can also just look up synonyms. I'm okay if you use the internet to kind of help you out a little bit. Okay, next one. Okay, I keep going to the wrong page. Let's see, Stephen, will you read for us? I want you to reread this sentence, and while he does this, everyone, I want you to think of this one. So, Stephen, read from there to there.
While the desires of the buyer and the seller really oppose each other, it is in the best interest of these people to strategize exactly how they will convince a seller to lower his or her prices.
Good, thank you. Okay, Cherry, what would you replace these people with?
The buyer and the seller.
Good, yes. All right, and lastly, Danny, read this sentence, please.
Although prices are not negotiable, it never hurts to bargain with the seller.
Okay, how could we change are not to
Not always.
Yeah, are not always. That's exactly what you need to do. Thank you, Danny. Okay, now we're moving on to reading an essay. And we've talked about this with paragraphs. When you're writing a paragraph, you have to stay on topic. Same with an essay. You have a topic sentence, and if something in your paragraph does not match the topic sentence, it should not be there. I will do the first paragraph with you, and then I'll have you guys do the others on your own. Okay. So number one, Cherry, will you please read paragraph 1?
Texting while driving is dangerous, but many people continue to do so. Fortunately, my own experiences with texting and driving did not result in a horrible accident, and the damage to my car was relatively minor. While I did not suffer a bodily injury, the damage to my ego was severe. My car accident was completely avoidable because I was texting while driving. The vehicle I was driving at the time was approximately 5 years old.
So Stephen, can you give me a general idea of what this essay will be about?
Why texting and driving is dangerous.
Did anyone notice the one sentence that was random? Do you know, Cherry?
The sentence that was what?
Random and unnecessary.
The vehicle I was driving at the time was approximately 5 years old.
Yes. You don't need to know that because we're not talking about the age of the vehicle or the ability of the vehicle. We're talking about simply how texting is a negative thing. Okay, so in this paragraph, we would cross out this sentence because it is not necessary. So in all of the paragraphs, there's going to be one sentence that's unnecessary, and your job is to find it. I do think it's helpful to read out loud most of these paragraphs. So what we'll do is we'll read all of these out loud, and then I'll assign each one of you an individual paragraph. So Stephen, read number 2, please.
I have always thought of myself as a good driver. I pay attention to the road, anticipate the action of other drivers, and very aware of how road conditions can shift instantly. One day, when I was driving to my job on roads I have entered countless times, my cell phone beeped to indicate that I had a new text message. Every day, I receive up to 50 text messages. I knew a friend would text me that morning to let me know about his plans for the evening. And I also knew that I should write back quickly to tell him that I could not join him. Unfortunately, that is when I took my eyes off the road, thereby setting the stage for the accident.
Thank you, Stephen. Good job. Okay, Danny, read number 3.
My accident could have been much worse, had a much worse ending. Thankfully, I was not on a major highway, but rather on a quiet street early in the morning. The only result of my accident was that I drove onto a sidewalk and hit a parking meter. The police gave me a ticket for the damage I had done. The police who arrived at the accident scene was very polite.
Okay, thank you. And then Cherry, read number 4, please.
Psychologists have demonstrated that texting is addictive.
You don't need to read the names, it's okay.
When phones make that sweet sound of new texts arriving, people want to read those messages at once. According to Haley Tsukayama's article, the World Health Organization says that video games are a serious addiction for millions of people. We like to believe that we usually make rational decisions, but reading a text while driving is not a rational choice at all.
Thank you. Okay, Stephen, I want you to do number 2. Find the misplaced sentence that should not be there. Cherry, number 3. Danny, number 4. And what you're going to do is simply underline it on my screen. Stephen, at first I was like, yeah, that's right. I found a different one that would actually be even better to erase. So try one more time. Cherry, try again. Good job, Stephen. Danny, that is correct. And Cherry, there's a different sentence that would be better. Cherry, I would actually do the last sentence. Okay, so Stephen, go ahead and explain to us why you chose that sentence.
Because I chose this sentence because this this essay is about why driving texting while driving is bad for you, and we do not need to know how many text messages you receive a day.
Yeah, we just needed to know that you received a text message, not that you received 50. Thank you. Okay, Cherry, why would the last sentence be the best choice?
Because it's not important to know if the police that arrived were polite.
Yeah, it's really not. We only need to know that the police were present. So like my accident could have had a much worse ending. That's relevant. We're talking about an accident. It matters. The only result of my accident was that I drove onto a sidewalk and hit a parking meter. So they are explaining the accident, which is relevant. But police being polite is not. Okay, and Danny, why did you do yours on number 4?
Since they're talking about how their car accident, we don't need to know about video game addiction.
Yeah, that was super random. And they even provided like a citation, which made it seem more legit, but it was not necessary. Okay, we're gonna move on from this. So, like I said, today we're gonna be writing a short story, and I asked each of you to pull up a document. That document is solely for the purpose of brainstorming today. I want you to type out all of your ideas that you have, even while we're reading through what a short story is, which you already know what it is, but we're going to go more in depth. I want you to take notes if you think it would be helpful. So use that document just to brain dump today. Okay, here we go. I'm going to read right here. Danny, read this first paragraph, and then Stephen, go right into the next one.
When a writer sits down to write a short story, he or she has the power to create new worlds, to promote a reader to laugh or cry or shrink in terror, and to gain and share insights into what it means to be a human. How does the writer harness this power? Every short story writer has his or her own process, but many writers follow roughly the process outlined in this chapter.
Thank you. Stephen?
As you work through the process yourself, remember that writing a short story is not a linear. You do not perform each step only once. The writing process is more like baking bread. Bread dough must rise and be punched down again and again before the bread will have the right texture. Similarly, the raw materials of your story, such as character, setting, and plot, will need to be reworked again and again until the story is effective.
Thank you. I think I've kind of gotten into a habit with this class where we've written and we've revised maybe once. Really, revision should happen over and over until you feel that it's finished and you feel very confident in your story. So we're going to take a little bit more time to go through the writing process with this short story. Meaning today we're going to spend the majority of class brainstorming and really developing your characters, as well as the setting and plot, climax. Next class, we'll develop the story, and then we'll even revise the following class. So it's going to be a little more of a lengthier process to go through. Okay. And if we can go quicker, then that's great. So first you have to consider your purpose, audience, and tone. If you're writing to a 5th grader, you need to speak in a simpler language, but you will be writing to whoever you want to, so you can use as difficult a language as you'd like. And that, considering your audience, will help you create a more captivating story. Okay. Here are some questions that are good to ask yourself. Cherry, will you please read these first 2?
Ask yourself questions. What might happen? For example, if a bizarre new family moved into a neighborhood much like yours, are they space aliens? How would you know? Watch people. If someone interests you, use your observations of that person as the springboard for creating an imaginary character. For instance, if the elderly man you see every day on the bus looks like an old sea captain, spin a tale about him and how he came to have that deep scar on his arm.
You guys remember any like children's books that you liked as a kid? For example, I liked Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. Do you guys have any that come to your mind?
I like to hop series, like read a bunch of series at once and try to remember what happened last.
Yeah. Have you guys ever read like The Magic Tree House?
No.
Yes.
Oh, yes, Stephen. That was my favorite series when it's been out for forever because I'm much older than you guys, and I read that when I was in like first grade and second grade and whatever, all the way up. I loved it. What other stories do you guys remember? Dr. Seuss has good books. Um, have you guys ever read the book Olivia? It's about a pig. That was my favorite because that was my name. Cherry, do you have any childhood stories you liked?
I can't remember any.
It's hard when you're put on the spot, so I don't blame you. All I'm trying to make a point of is when you read a childhood story, a young story, you open the page and almost always it's dedicated to someone. It says, dedicated to my youngest sister, Christine, because she always inspired me to do this. So writers, anytime they're creating a story, they think of people in their life that can inspire characters or morals of their story. So if your mom taught you to accept everyone, love people, you might have that as a theme throughout your story. So I want you guys to start thinking right now about people in your life who have influenced you for good or bad that could inspire a character. It'll make it more exciting to write a story when you're inspired by real people because then you have a lot of depth to your character. So go ahead and start thinking about that. And I'm going to read more questions to you as you think. Have you ever wondered what the world looked like to someone very different from you? Put yourself in the place of someone unlike yourself. So maybe you put yourself in the shoes of someone from a different country, and you might need to research more about that country and their culture. Maybe you put yourself in the shoe of someone who has, maybe they have like a physical disability, they live in a wheelchair, whatever you want to do. Okay? Now you have to plot your story. The plot of a story is so important because it guides the reader. It has a flow to it. The basic plot of a story starts with, let me find the little table. Here it is. You have a conflict. The conflict builds. There's a climax, which is the most exciting part, and then the resolution where things come to a close. Every story in the world follows this. Okay. Let's read this plot so that you can better understand the steps. So if you have a conflict, it can be an external or internal conflict. The external is when it's a character versus a situation that's very visible. An internal is when it's something happening within a character. Maybe they're struggling with stress, or they're struggling with a relationship and they're struggling more internally rather than telling that person that they're struggling. Okay, so Stephen, will you please read 1 second? Right here to here, and then right here to here.
Letitia is going away to college, but her best friend Jennifer is not.
Okay.
Letitia's feelings of happiness, sadness, and guilt are all mixed up.
Okay, so who are the two characters in the story, Stephen?
Letitia and Jennifer.
Thank you. Okay, Danny, read these three. What happens when the conflict builds? I think you're muted, Danny. I can't hear you.
Letitia begins spending time with Megan, who is going to college and who tries to turn Letitia against Jennifer. Letitia begins to change, new clothes, new hair. Letitia visits Jennifer at her job and talks about college in an insensitive way.
Okay, this is a really important part because it engages the reader and helps them become connected to the conflict. They might be able to relate to it. Okay, then the climax is the most exciting part. And what happens is Jennifer tells Letitia to leave her alone. They stop speaking. That's a big deal for friends. It's almost like you've lost someone really important in your life. But the resolution, Cherry, will you read that? You're muted, Cherry. You just read the resolution.
Letitia realizes her insensitivity and apologizes to Jennifer.
Insensitivity.
Insensitivity and apologizes to Jennifer. They are friends again. Letitia learns a few things about herself and about life.
Okay, so now what I want you to start thinking about is, would I like my story to end happily or in a sad way? It's your choice. A resolution does not always mean a happy ending. It just means that something has resolved, and it can end poorly too. So start thinking, do you want to end on a good note or maybe a sad, maybe more negative note? Okay, so you should have thought of somebody that could influence a character and decide if you're having a happy ending or a sad ending. It doesn't even have to be sad. It could just be in the middle. Maybe something still needs to be resolved in the future. Okay, so now we're going to go more in depth. This is where your Google Doc comes into play. I have created some charts to help you answer questions. I'm going to try to send this in the chat to you and see if it will work for you to just copy and paste it. Yep, it should work. Okay, go ahead and copy and paste the questions I sent in the chat and paste them on your document. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to type short answers to these questions. Ready? 5 minutes starts now. Let me know if you have questions or need help.
What kind of story are we reading again?
Thank you for asking that. You are free to write any type of story out there. It can be nonfiction, fiction, science fiction, fantasy. You are free to do whatever. Right now, you don't have to decide completely if you're which genre you want to do. I just want you to start. This is a very light brainstorming. You can always change your answers. Thank you for asking that though, because you do need to start thinking about it at least. This story, the main requirement is that you are good at developing it with your plot and that you include dialogue. Other than that, there are no parameters. You have about a minute left. And then for this last minute, send me what you're leaning towards with the genre. You can say fiction, nonfiction, fantasy, mystery. Okay, go ahead and send me the genre you're thinking about doing. You can always change it. Just send it in the chat. Okay, cool. Thank you, Danny and Cherry. Okay, thank you, Stephen. Now we're going to take a quick break so that you can have more time to process before I have you answer more questions and read an example of what I'm looking for. I'm going to read you a version that was written by a student. Okay. This one's called Aiming for the Stars. Sherry, read this part for us, please.
Yeah.
This page is not set up for me to read.
Sorry, Sherry thought I talked to her. Okay, go ahead.
The starship Froggy sits poised for liftoff. As steam rises from the carefully molded engines, the crew makes the final preparation for their journey. Commander Froggy sits in waiting with Lieutenant First Class BJ by his side as if it was his millionth launch. As a voice comes over the intercom, continuing the final seconds of the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good. Thank you. Great reading. Okay, Stephen, you're going to read from here to here.
Froggy, hey Froggy, are you there? Do I have to call a rescue team to get you? Huh? What? Said Froggy, startled from his daydream. Oh, what's up, BJ? He said after temporarily looking up from a pile of space dust. I was just thinking. About what? BJ asked. Not that crazy spaceman dream of yours.
Okay, so thank you. Good job, Stephen. So far, what you do, you have to hook your audience. That's the first thing. How did they hook their audience here? Remember, you can do question, story, fact. Danny, how did they hook their audience?
With a interesting daydream about Froggy.
Yeah. And that's mainly what you're going to be doing when you're writing a story. Because you're writing a story, you're likely not going to say an interesting statement or share a statistic. Instead, you're either going to ask a question or just go right into the story, trying to catch their ear. Next, you need to go deep into your characters and try to develop them. After that, you start to do whether it's an internal or external conflict. So, Danny, will you read this, please?
It's not crazy, and it's not a dream, said Froggy, slightly annoyed. It's a real goal, as real as this ship, he said, stomping one foot on the outside of the giant ship they were cleaning.
Good. And remind me, guys, what is an internal conflict?
You hate yourself?
It's something happening in your mind or like in your heart, your feelings. But what's an external conflict? It happens between you and
Someone else?
yeah, another person. It's easier for people to see. Yes. So it could be like a verbal fight between you and your sibling, whatever. Okay. Come on, Froggy. We were born to be custodians. I mean, it was programmed into your code before you were even born. You can't be anything more, not in this lifetime, maybe in the next. Next one, you'll be born something better. Okay, Cherry here.
No, that's not true. I refuse to live my entire life according to what everyone else says. It doesn't matter what someone else programmed me to be. I decide how my life turns out, said Froggy as he walked towards a ladder that was resting on the side of the gigantic cargo ship.
Good, thank you. Stephen, from here to here, please.
Wait, yelled BJ as he ran over to Froggy. I'm sorry I said that. You may be right, but even if you are, how exactly do you plan on achieving your goal? I don't exactly know right now, but I do know that where there's a will, there's a way. At least that's what my grandpa says.
Good. So he was trying to imply that a dream was unachievable, but now he's saying goal because goals are usually more achievable. When you guys are writing dialogue, one thing I want you to start practicing, you do not have to worry so much about grammar when you're writing dialogue. Yes, you have to put a comma before the dialogue tag and do the quotation marks, but if you're speaking as someone from, let's say, the South, where they have like a Southern accent, and they might shorten their words, like come on could be come on, or y'all, or just different things. You just need to write words as they would sound with the person saying them. Let me see if I can quickly find an example in the book. I'm going to go up real quick. Hold on. Okay, I saw this earlier. This is what I was looking for. Okay. Danny, I'm going to challenge you to try to read this. Okay, Danny, try to read this full portion right here. Just the way it's written.
Something such as when you are trying to
No, try again. So start here.
sometimes such as when you are trying to reproduce the sound of a dialect or an accent. It is more effective to spell dialogue phonetically.
Phonetically. Do you know what the Greek root phone means? It
No.
means sound. So the way something sounds, that's how you're going to try to spell it. So if someone had an accent, like maybe they're German or whatever, they might say, "Wenn you are trying to reproduce the," a lot of people speak where it sounds that way. You need to write how they would sound because then they will be able to hear their voice. So if you have someone who's German, I guess, in your writing, maybe you do little things like this to help people hear their accent. So I give you full permission to write phonetically if your character has a different sound to their voice. Okay? Forget grammar. You don't have to be perfect with grammar. You do have to be perfect with punctuating before and after the dialogue. Other than that, it's okay. All right. Let's go back to the story. Okay, BJ nodded and leaned one arm on Froggy's shoulder as they continued toward the ladder. "Doesn't your grandpa also say that his socks are trying to eat his feet?" he asked. They both laughed as they descended to the docking platform. "I had to use the modular waste facility, Froggy." "The what?" questioned Froggy. "The restroom." "Oh, yeah, I knew that." "Well, the restroom's right down the hall. Go ahead. I'll wait," said Froggy, pointing to the long, sterile-looking hallway. BJ took one step toward the hall, stopped, and turned as if he had just been slapped with an idea. "Why walk all the way down to the hall when the cargo ship has a facility?" he said with a sly grin. "But the ship is going to take off any minute." "What's wrong? You're not scared, are you, Froggy?" Are you crazy? Let's go." Froggy and BJ got about halfway to the ship's restroom when they heard a voice on the intercom say, "Security lockdown initiated. All non-personnel key cards rejected." "Oh no, we're locked on the ship," BJ exclaimed in a panic-stricken voice. Okay, so as far as the length of your story goes, I think we need to do at least 2 pages. You can do double spaced. So it's going to be in between this story's length and this one. This one's a little too short. So far, do you guys have some questions for me about the requirements of the story? Okay, let's keep planning then. Again, you can change your answers as time goes on, but this is a good time to think. Character and setting. I created a little table. If you know how to do that, you can create a table on yours. I'll send these questions in the chat, and then I'll also send a link to this Google Doc if you want to just copy and paste what I have. Okay. Okay, me sending the questions, they don't look so great, but maybe that will work still. Okay, now I'll send you a link to this Google Doc if you want to copy my table. Okay, these questions are a little more lengthy, so I'm going to give you about 7 minutes. I know that's not a lot of time, but we gotta hurry, so. Do you have any questions? Answer the character and setting questions. Ready, set, go. Okay, so this is only referencing one character, but you can pretend that it's saying characters if you want to talk about multiple. The other option is you focus on your main character. So you can do multiple characters or just one main character right now. Okay, before the timer goes up, you have about 3 more minutes. I want you to send me one sentence, giving me a short description of maybe like the character's name or just a little description of what the character is like. You can copy and paste what you've written if you want. Hey, go ahead and send me the name and description of one of your characters. Just one sentence. You guys are doing awesome. We're just going to do one more little brainstorm. And then for homework, what I'll have you do is just go back through all of the charts and questions I've sent you and expand on them. Rethink your characters. Sorry, that's time. Setting, things like that, so that you have enough information prepared to start writing next class. Okay, so let's go ahead and do location. You have the link to the Google Doc, so you can copy and paste mine, but I'll also just send you the questions in the chat. You're going to have, again, 7 minutes for this. After that, we're going to take a break and play a game. You can message me if you have any questions or ask. Okay, so because we didn't have another student joined, I just was told that we can end class a little bit early. So because I think that you guys would probably enjoy that, we will end early. I'll just tell you really quick again what your homework is, so you can kind of come to a stopping point. For homework, use your document with all of the questions I've sent you and go back through all of them and expand on your answers. Make sure that you've answered each of these questions in detail, because I'm going to want you to share that document with me. However it looks, you can send me screenshots or just share the Google Doc with me so I can take a look at your brainstorm.
I just tried to open the Google Docs, but I can see the questions inside, but I cannot like type on it.
Can you, are you able to copy and paste the ones I have in the chat so you at least have them for homework? Or do you want me to-
I did that.
Okay, then that's good enough. As long as you have the questions and you've written out some answers and then you expound on those for homework.
Okay.
That's all you need to do. Yeah, and then send me a screenshot or just send me whatever you can to show me your work. Okay. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great week and thanks for working hard in class. I will see you next time.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.